Welcome into the Cam and Strick Podcast, episode number 63. Cam, you were a little bit late today. You got here late. You said you're never late. Today you got here late.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. No, late for me is 20 minutes early. So, yeah, I was late, but I was 20 minutes early. But I have a radio show to do that I do every single day, unlike you. Unlike you, Andy Strickland. I have a radio show every day. I had to do it from my goddamn house because of coronavirus. So then I had to cruise all the way down here, got stuck in traffic, and it is what it is. 20 minutes early is late for me. So go fuck yourself.
You said you had to go get a sandwich. What are you, hungry?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, I had to go to
You
Jimmy
don't
John's.
have food at your house?
No, I don't make my own food. Kate dresses me. She makes me food. She wasn't there today. I'm fucking scrambling. That's why I look like shit.
You wear your Codago shirt again
Every
today.
day.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
She had a colorful...
So what did you stop and get to eat?
Jimmy John's, dude, so it was 2 seconds. And then I got back on the road and I fucking bang, flew down here.
Do you take your dip out when you eat or do you leave it in?
I leave it in.
You do?
Even when I sleep, yeah.
No.
No, of course not, idiot boy. Unless I pass out and then I choke on it and wake up puking on myself.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Especially with, sheets everywhere. And Kate's
No.
like, oh, you did that again. I'm like, oh, okay.
What's up with this tweet you put out?
What?
You said "aw" to these guys like it's, a compassionate tweet, like "aw."
Yeah.
And you didn't even watch the full video.
No, they
to
helped
realize
that. No,
it
they
was
helped
like
that. No.
It was like a pornography
No,
video.
they helped that poor girl. She had a broken leg, and they helped her out. And I didn't click on it. I read the dialogue, and the poor girl.
She was stranded.
hurting.
She was stranded.
She was stranded. These poor guys. God bless them. God bless you all. They helped this poor little girl. They brought her in her van. They threw money in her face.
They threw her on the.
They threw on the. I fucked up.
No, that was terrible.
That was terrible.
You didn't watch the video. You posted it
I
before watching.
read the dialogue and it seemed happy and lovely, but
No, it was a. Hey,
she made money. Okay.
Yes, she did.
She
make
made money.
We talked about this though, man. You got to start watching these videos before you retweet.
True that.
Okay.
True that.
So start doing that.
True that. No, you're right. You're right. I got to be more disciplined when it comes to that. Again, Kate wasn't around.
Okay.
She tweets for me too. She wouldn't like that one.
You think the NHL is getting a little bit nervous here right now? I mean, they had this great idea.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much perfect. They have 0 COVID cases, no issues. Nobody's getting caught eating chicken wings at the local strip joint like they did in the NBA bubble. Louis Chicken Wing Williams.
And the chick comes out, the Ripper comes out and goes, yeah, you tipped really well.
Oh, did
I'm
she?
like, oh, like the NBA guys are getting lap dances. Sure. He's lap dances. That guy gave her fucking 5 G's, and he fucking hung out with that chick all night long.
Did she really come out and say that?
Yes, he
really?
did. Yeah.
Because he said he went there just for the chicken wings.
Chicken wings. Oh, chicken wings are great. Look, the Rippers has the best buffet, especially the seafood buffet. Go eat seafood buffet at a Rippers, and you're going to lose 20 pounds. Why? Because you'll be pissing out of your ass for like 2 days.
All right, so how nervous is the NHL, though, that we could have a playoff that Sidney Crosby isn't participating in? There's no Connor McDavid, and potentially no Austin Matthews either.
Yeah, could be. And Toronto played well the other night. They took it to him. They kind of exposed Columbus. John Tortorella lost his fucking mind on Dubois. We all saw that.
We sucked.
We sucked. That's all I got to say is we sucked. Okay, we play your game.
We
play your
get
game.
it.
You did fucking suck.
You did suck.
You did suck, and you're fucking boring. I don't want you to win. I like you, John Tortorella. I don't want you to win. Why? You're boring.
Do you think they have to play that way to win? They can't beat Toronto unless they play that style.
I don't know. You're just sitting back, and they're just coming at you. There's got to be a mixture of the two. You got to be hard on them. You got to shut
find a
them
way
down.
to be aggressive.
Find a way. You
especially
get in
with the
on
way
it.
the game is being played right now. It's pretty open.
It doesn't look just because they got skills that you guys could still skate. Get the fuck up there. You're just sitting back and you're waiting for them to come at you. You could only do that for so long against that kind of skill. They're going to fucking expose you, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, they do have some players who can skate too. I mean, they've
Cam Atkinson can fly. Seth Jones. I mean,
yes. Well, even outside of the 2 guys on the back end, they've got players up front who can skate too, man. So
get in there.
I mean, they got to find that balance and not just try to win a 1-0, 2-1 game against an explosive offensive team who now. In Toronto, listen, they can get their confidence and all of a sudden get that swag back and start pumping them in pretty quickly.
I want Toronto to win. I do. And you said it'd be It'd be a lot of hype about them losing and stuff. Yeah, but that only lasts for so long.
Yeah, but I said that. Remember, I said, hey, it's one game. Not every team that wins the first game of the series, even though 80% of them do, not every team who wins the first game is going to end up winning this series.
I want to see Toronto do well. Yeah, I do. I feel, and it's not even for the team. Like, do I like all those players? Some of the guys, I don't really know many of them, but I know the fans, and I feel for them. I honestly do. And you know how it is. Like, we're fans of the Blues, like we were. I went through some times where I didn't give a shit because I'm worried about myself because you're playing. But now you're back here, and it's like, the Blues revolve around your life here, man. That's all we do is talk about them, talk about hockey, this, that, and the other. I feel bad for those Toronto fans. I honestly do.
Okay, good. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I don't know why you feel so.
Sorry.
I mean, you feel so. Don't feel bad for them.
No, I do feel bad for them.
You know what?
I do. I want this organization
I
to do
really
well,
believe that the environment in which those players play in contributes to their lack of success in the playoffs.
I agree with that. No, I agree with that too.
It's the media goes absolutely crazy.
So do it in a bubble then. No.
And the fans do too.
Then do it in a bubble.
Like lay off these guys sometimes, Stay
off your fucking phone. Go play your video games. Mm-hmm. You have no pressure, dude. Yeah, you're in Toronto, but you're not in Toronto.
But you know what Roman Polak told me one time? When he was when he was playing in Toronto, he said, "Listen, I felt more pressure playing in St. Louis than I did in Toronto."
Really?
I said, "Wow, I don't understand that." He goes, "Yeah, because everyone they talk here on the talk radio," he goes, "No, we're not listening to that." He goes, "The pressure internally to win from management and ownership and guys inside the room in St. Louis." That's pressure. When you're facing it inside the walls from teammates, ownership, and management, and the coaches, that's way more intense and way more imposing than anything they're going to hear on sports radio or read in the newspaper.
No doubt about it. That's a good quote, man. No, that's good on Roman. And you're right. Even with the Devils, like you're hearing it from the fans. You could block that out. I mean, it's hard to, but you really can. You could stay off of Twitter. You could stay off your phone. But when you got to walk in and see Lou Lamiorello, and he's giving you that look through your soul, and you're like, hi, yeah, no, and you go in, you see your captain look at you, you see Marty look at you, whatever. Like, you're right. You cannot hide from that, especially when you walk in that locker room and everybody knows you're not on your game.
Or just look at the teams that have had success, like Stevie Yzerman and whatever. I mean, when those guys, the quiet leaders, the Scotty Stevens, those type of, they just
where are those leaders at Toronto?
They create the tone.
Where are they at? Who's the leader on that team? Who's this? Was it Muzzin? Is it Riley?
And Muzzin's out now.
Muzzin's out now. He's going to be out for the series. Who steps up in that fucking locker room and says, enough's enough? Mm-hmm. This is our time.
Well, Tavares has got to be the guy. I
can't see it,
He came in there, hometown kid. He's got the C on his jersey. He's got the big contract. Not the only one to have a big contract.
There's about four of them.
But he's the veteran guy.
Yeah. They need to... Look, it's one thing to put the pressure on when you have that much skill and you fucking dominate a Columbus Blue Jackets team that you probably can't name 5 guys on their team anyway. And then...
Can you name 5 guys on Carolina?
Yeah.
Go.
No, don't put me on the spot.
Go, right
don't
now.
put me on the spot.
Now.
I got to look it up on the internet.
Don't
put me on Tom Dundon.
Okay, no, that's our guy. And then first off, this is our team. We run the Carolina Hurricanes.
Can I fucking say my point?
Know who our guys are.
Here's the deal, Toronto. Love y'all. But it's one thing to kill a team one game. Do it consistently. Play that game consistently. You're not going to win every single game, but you need to find your game and be on it and fucking hound. If you want to be in the big boy club, you do it every fucking night. You're not going to win every night, but you're bringing it every night. That's what winning culture does. Mm-hmm. That's what the Blues do. That's what happens when you have a shitty fucking outcome one time in Winnipeg and the next day you go out there and you fucking dominate. That's what you do if you want to be a winner.
Kyle Clifford can do that too.
He ran, with 3 minutes.
Exactly. He played 3 minutes the first game, 7 minutes in game 2.
Still not enough.
But I'm saying he's won before. Like Muzzin.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like Muzzin, too. They get it.
So they can stand up. I don't care if he's playing 30 seconds or he's a guy who should get the attention of those young kids.
And you don't – look.
And I get the sense Austin Matthews, man, I feel like to me he's showing that determination.
A little confidence, I think.
That confidence, man. He wants to win and win badly.
And I was going to say is you don't need 6, 7, 8 guys on a team that's won before to win again. How many guys on the Blues did?
You're right.
And we're not counting Oscar Sundqvist.
Jordan Nolan.
Who? Jordan Nolan didn't even get a sniff.
We're counting Oscar Sundqvist.
No, we're not. Because did he have a lot to do with that?
Even guys in the Pittsburgh organization didn't know he was there.
There you go. So what guy stood up in that locker room and says, "I've done this before"? You know Clifford's going to do it. You certainly know Muzzin's going to do it with Toronto.
Yeah.
What guy's going to be like, this is what we need to do? Nobody. But they figured it out, didn't they? They figured it out. Yeah.
Okay, they
Anyway.
figured that out. Have you figured out
Figured
who's
it
on
out.
the Carolina Hurricanes yet? Or do we want to bypass that, or you want to do it?
No, I got Joel Edmondson. I got Slavin. I got Sebastian Aho. I got Teravainen. I got Svashkinov.
All right, you're good.
I got Tom
you're good.
Dundon.
You're good. Our guy, Tom. Congrats to Tom. They sweep the New York Rangers. That's kind of embarrassing for the Rangers.
They were terrible.
That is terrible.
It's like who's better, Slavin or D'Angelo? So D'Angelo's like, I got my podcast to do.
Let me tell you this: knowing JD coming in, he'll feel the pressure. Not only do you lose, you get swept. Still feeling out
You didn't bring shit.
Still feeling out that head coach.
Yeah, who looks like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge for that coach to overcome what just happened. He may still be the head coach when it starts the season next year.
They're not there yet.
But
dude.
this will be in their memory bank. He's going to have to.
People were.
He's going to have to get things going, though.
People were talking, Andy.
JD didn't hire him, is what I'm saying.
People were talking. They're like, fucking the Rangers are all over Carolina all year long. Oh, it's going to be a tough season.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking get on
They
with yourself.
swept the season head-to-head
They beat
series.
the fuck out of you. And they didn't have Dougie.
Right.
They have Hamilton, he's kind of a
can-
goofball.
yeah, but
but
he
that
can
fucking
play,
guy has
dude.
to puck the
He
whole
can
game.
play.
Get on. Yeah, dude. They're scary. They're a good team.
They are. I think
They
better
hit-
the biggest question mark for them is going to be their goaltending.
That's true. But damn, they're okay, man. They made some big saves. Like some sequences were like, holy shit, how'd you do that?
I know.
How'd you do? Was that Claude Lemieux's son too?
Brendan.
He had a breakaway, point blank shot,
Yeah.
fucking save, point blank shot, save.
Follow-ups.
Then they go down and score, whatever the case is. Kind of like what Arizona did with Nashville the other day too. Nashville all over them. I think there was a point in time when it was 15-1 in shots favoring Nashville, 1-0 Arizona. Whew.
I will say this: I don't like the schedule for the Blues. I think it's like ridiculous.
So stupid.
They haven't played since Sunday.
How do you get
so
into it?
they play their second game on Thursday night when teams have already played like 4 games,
Oh my god.
and they're in a bubble, sitting there waiting to play. You got to go 4 days without a game. That's ridiculous, man.
Andy, they're going to be a wake-up call. The Blues are going to get smacked in the fucking face. Boston's going to get smacked in the face. All these teams, they're not in it right now. You can't get into
But
it.
you can't blame them either.
You can't blame them, but you can't get into it. When you're playing every 5th fucking day, and not to mention, it's not playoff hockey yet. They might look like it here and there, where there'll be a scrum and maybe a fight. Look at these other teams. Look at these other games. They're killing each other. You could look at the emotion in their faces and see that they're up to the playoff mentality, the physicality, the pace.
Well, they're playing for
They're-
something.
like, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So the Blues,
And we're taping this before the Blues Vegas game. Watch
I
there
don't
be
give a
like
shit.
4 scraps in the game.
It doesn't
And-
matter. It still doesn't matter. It's still who they're going to fight Reaver for. You know,
I know.
It doesn't matter. There's going to be a smack in the face in each series, and the Blues are going to smack. How long is that going to take for them to recover from that punch?
How about the Chicago Blackhawks, though? Do you take them for real? There were so many penalties in the game last night.
Oh my God.
So it's tough to watch when both those teams were on the power play the entire game. But I will say this: Chicago, they're not that good. I mean, I
Really?
know. Oh yeah, I know they're scoring goals and whatever, but you can't play.
They're
The
sloppy in
game,
their D zone.
trying to get 3-on-2s the whole game,
Wide
trying
open.
to cheat, try
Yeah.
to play wide open, get opportunities in the power play. Listen, they've got some players who I really like that Kirby Doc kid.
Oh, big boy.
I mean, he's a big boy. In addition to a guy like Taves who's got 4 goals. I mean, there's something about Chicago winning in the playoffs with Taves and Kane and these guys being a part of it. Like
I'm
it's-
not
from
I'm
a
not
nostalgia
counting-
standpoint.
Fuck that. I'm not counting them out. I don't want to play them. I don't want the Blues to play them.
Really?
Nope. Look,
The Blues didn't even try against them in the
I didn't even watch
exhibition
it.
game.
I
Okay,
didn't even fucking. Am I watching this stupid ass game? It's stupid. I didn't watch it.
and
Not to mention it was blacked out in my house.
And
anyway.
Edmonton took them lightly in game 1 too.
They did.
They did.
They absolutely did. Chicago, I don't want to fuck with this team, man. I see it in fucking Taze's eyes. He's got that look in his eye, the same
does.
one in
He
2010,
does. I'm with
13,
you. I'm
15.
with you.
And they're healthy. 82 games.
But are they good? Are they good enough, Cam?
No, but
They're not.
they can't. No, but they can be. No.
Like
they shouldn't
Carolina can be. I
They
don't know if
should-
Chicago
They
can.
shouldn't be, but you can get hot, and guys can build confidence, and you have the leadership, and you have the winning mantra. Does that make sense? Mantra?
Mantra.
Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You know how to win.
But
you
this
have the
is
winning
why,
ways.
listen, how many times do we say this over the course of the pause? That it's going to be a team that nobody expects. It's going to be a team that
Islanders.
that wasn't eligible for the playoffs in a traditional format, who now gets a second chance at life because of the bubble life.
Calgary.
Someone's going to get hot. And
Minnesota.
It's going to be one of those teams over the big boys who maybe have won in recent years and, you know, probably enjoyed themselves over the course of the pause.
Yeah. Look, the difference between workouts from all these guys, like one guy could have had just the right setup at the right time.
I could be wrong. You may see one of these round-robin teams end up running the table and winning. Like, I mean, a team like Colorado obviously looks great. St. Louis is going to be extremely difficult to knock out.
They're going to be difficult to
And
deal
even
with.
though Boston hasn't looked good still.
It doesn't matter. They're going to figure it out.
Teams aren't volunteering to play them.
Like, even a Brad Marchand, like, for him to be on his game, he's got to
be emotional.
It's got to be like, fuck you, I'm going to fuck you.
And he's not going there yet.
He's not doing it yet, dude. And that's a big deal. Charles not doing it yet.
Right.
Charles probably tiptoeing around like,
I know someone said, hey, well, early on, like the pace of play was. Listen, we're going to get past that as we continue to move. And the pace has been great in a lot of these play-in games. But as we continue to move forward, man, the pace is just going to get better.
The
and
bottom
faster.
line is
pick up. The intensity is going to pick
the
up.
bottom line is there's hockey in our face, baby. And I love it. And guys are fucking killing each other. They're hitting each other. They're emotional. It's exactly what we want. Kudos, not to the NHL, to the NHL, but also to the players.
Look, that's what we're doing now. We're not saying kudos to the players. Not just kudos to the league, but kudos to the players.
We are saying
yes.
it. Yes, we are saying it.
Yes, we are saying it. Okay. Brought to you by CarShield and CarShield.com. Promo code CAM will save you 10%. 800-857-2481. Again, 800-857-2481. Visit CarShield.com. Save 10%, baby, with CarShield.
Damn right.
And you don't have to drive your mom's car. If your car's in the shop, they'll hook you up with a rental. Don't make that same mistake that Cam made. Plus,
she didn't have tinted windows.
They just got named the #1 large business to work for in the region. So if you're in the region, check out CarShieldCareers.com.
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 Classy people. Great
Classy,
workplace.
baby.
That's what you want.
GadgetBuyback.com. If you have a crack phone, you're what?
A Hoosier. Yeah, a Hoosier. Oh, I'm going to go talk to this hot girl. She's going to be like, oh, let me look at your phone. No. Oh, give me your number. Oh, here's my phone. Oh, you have a crack phone? You suck. I'm done with you. Beat it. Get that phone fixed.
All right, get it fixed. If you're a business owner, don't be slowed down by old-ass shit. Trade it in, and they'll pay you top dollar for it. That's the one thing that they will do. They pay good money for your old devices. So gadgets.
Don't be cheap.
Tablets.
Yeah.
Phones, even Apple Watches, man, they can fix that.
You're slowing the pace down in the organization.
Yes, and if you're in the St. Louis area, they've got a store in Oakville. Drive on in, and they'll fix it while you wait. It's a no-brainer. GadgetLabMobile.com. That's the website for the local store. But again, check out GadgetBuyback.com. Anywhere you are listening in the world, they can help you out. 877-772-8880. How about Bud Light Seltzer, baby?
Seltzer.
They got how many flavors? 4 flavors.
4 flavors.
What's your favorite?
It's the mango.
You got the mango going on right now. Why do you like the mango
I don't
so much?
know. I don't know, Andy. It's really good. I'm not bloated. It's great on a summer day where you're chilling on the dock, kicking your feet up, listening to podcasts. I don't know. Jamming out to music, whatever the hell you want to do. Listen to Pink Floyd, maybe Comfortably Numb. Get you in the zone. Having that mango seltzer. Bud Light seltzer. Mango's pretty good. The strawberry's great. They're all great. They're all unique in their own way, and you don't feel bloated. I don't like to feel bloated, Andy. I don't like that, and this is a great drink on that hot summer day to make you feel nice and fresh.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Fresh is the word.
Mango.
100 calories, less than a gram of sugar. Hey, check out all our videos we're putting out as well, brought to you by our friends over at Bud Light Seltzer. Check out BudLight.com for the latest information. You can also order online. They'll deliver it to your house if you're 21 years of age or older.
Yeah, baby.
Bud Light Seltzer,
Simple.
baby. Hockeytraining.com. Now, check this out. We've been talking about this. You got to be explosive. If you want to have a quick first step, how do you do that, Cam?
Well, there's a bunch of different exercises. They just posted something right on Instagram the other day. Box jumping, side-to-side, lateral, things like that. And I'm looking at all these guys that we skate with throughout in the summer and all these men's leagues, and they're all working out. A lot of guys are working out, and they're doing their bicep curls, and they're doing this and they're doing that. What the fuck does that do? What are you going to lift something? What are you lifting heavy things up like fucking strongman competition? No, you're not. You're skating. I'm still beating you in the boards. Andy, you beat somebody the other day who was 3 times your size in the boards because you were starting to do hockey training and he's starting to do curls on his arm. Look, you could still do hockey training, do all the work, do the box jumps, do what they tell you to do to get more explosive, to get better at the game that you love, that you're trying to, like, when you walk in the door, people aren't like giving you that look like, oh, cool, he's here, yeah, fun. You're still going to look good. You're still going to have that beach body, Andy. You could do this training, and you still take your shirt off when you go down to Florida and you look fucking jacked and women are all over you.
Right. So do the hockey training. Don't be going to the gym and doing the traditional bodybuilding.
Yeah.
What's that going to do? That's not going to make you better at hockey.
You're still going to look good doing this. You're still going to look jacked as shit. Now you're going to look athletic. The women look at guys. You could tell when a guy takes go to Jersey. Go down to Jersey Shore. Scotty Stevens, myself, some of these guys that are extremely jacked can go down there, take their shirt off. You look completely different than everybody else. Everybody else is swallow up. They're all the water in their fucking their arms is puffy as shit. You look like shit. The hot chicks, they're looking at the athletes. They're not looking at Puffy Pufferson over there.
Puffy Pufferson.
Fuck that guy.
All right, hockeytraining.com. How was my game yesterday, by the way? Okay, was it terrible?
You need to do some fucking wrist curls or something. Jesus Christ. Fuck.
I think I scored more goals than you, though, I think.
Did you?
Yeah,
did you have 15? I'm sorry. Jamie Rivers is passing you a puck. It blows up off your fucking... I fucking hate that. Look, hockeytraining.com again. Here's another thing. If the guys are passing you a puck and every time you receive the puck, it explodes off your stick, almost like knocking the stick out of your hand, you fucking suck. And you need some wrist curls. It slows the game down so bad. And look at the body language on the bench when that happens. Guys are beaking the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. Hockeytraining.com. Seriously, they'll fix all that.
All right, check that out.
I'm talking to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit.
I could use a little
blowing up off your
hockeytraining.com.
fucking every time like a grenade off your fucking stick. It's god awful. You're killing the pace,
No.
dude. Yeah, you are.
No.
You might not get invited out.
Oh my God. Listen to you. One thing that picks up the pace is Bellman.com.
Oh, I'm gonna get one of those badass Jeeps, baby. SRTs, shit kicking. I could put my fucking hockey bag back there like, what's up? I'll black that son bitch out. Black ass rims, maybe some 22s on that bad boy, and I got dual exhaust. I'm gonna get that. You know what? I'm gonna make it loud. I think I'm gonna make it loud like my Corvette used to be. Not stock car loud, but loud enough to where when I come home late at night, I wake my subdivision up like my parents, and I don't give a shit. They don't. I used to wake them up in the middle of the night. They couldn't wake up with a nuclear warhead going off, but my car would wake them up in the middle of the night. I think that's kind of Hoosiers to do, but I want to do it, especially with an SRT.
All right, get your SRT. Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. You can find that SRT on one side of the street in Troy, Missouri. On the other side, Cadillac, Buick, GMC.
Yes.
And we'll be heading down there soon, man.
We're going to do a video down there.
Somebody sent me a message and said, dude, if I was in St. Louis right now, I'm in Vancouver. If I was in St. Louis, I'd go buy a car from Bellman.
Of course you would.
Of course you would. And people in St. Louis are doing the same thing.
You're comfortable walking in there, too.
Yeah, you're right.
Like you're comfortable.
Because of...
Oh, you want 15 swinging dicks coming out, swinging their dick around like, oh, who's next? Like, get the fuck away from me. Jesus, I hate that. It's so god-awful. I know, I'm dead serious. You guys
know you are.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's fucking terrible. You're like, God, whoa.
Get away.
Like fucking smacking you with it. Get the fuck off me.
Okay.
Psychos.
Sean Burke, dude. Great career.
Awesome guy.
Another guy who had a contract squabble and missed an entire season.
I know.
Isn't that amazing?
Like, Jesus.
He was offered a 3-year deal, $500,000 per year, and took $10,000 to go play for the Canadian national team.
Fuck that. I know. I'm like,
and
what are you
500
doing?
G's, it's a lot of money. But they brought in Marty Brodeur. He was
I've
supposed
never
to be
heard
the
of him,
guy.
though. I've never heard of him.
That's pretty ballsy. You think about it. Lou Lamiorello, like, Sean Burke was considered the franchise. I know he was struggling a little bit, but he was just a year or two before that. He was considered the future of the franchise.
Big playoff
coming
run.
in as a rookie, going to Game 7 of the conference final as a rookie, and then they turn around and draft Marty Brodeur. I mean, that's some pretty...
Can't have enough goalies. I guess you'd always trade them.
That's where, when you're the general manager, when you're on the inside, you have the knowledge.
No doubt about it. Especially him. Especially Lou.
And so, but, Berkey obviously had a great career, played elsewhere, played a bunch of different teams. But like he says, he stayed in 3 different cities, like 5 years each. So that's 15 years of the 18 years he played. So he didn't bounce around as much as it looks like.
It seems like he would, though.
I know.
9 teams.
Great player. He'd fight, dude, all the time.
Check out our fight clips that we put up. with Berkey and all that shit. It's always good to have a guy that's had some good scraps.
Did you know that about him? That he was just fighting.
So anytime
all the
we
time?
do all this shit for people to know, like we do our homework. It's like, people think we just like, oh, there's a podcast today, let's do it. No, like we do our shit. I look up shit all fucking day on these guys.
But not just like 2 or 3 scraps. I mean, he had like 10.
5. Yeah, I know. Like square off.
He's fighting Hasek.
Yeah.
Like, how do I not remember that?
Yeah. So anyway, he breaks all that down. So enjoy this, guys. Enjoy this one.
Yeah. You said he needs to throw harder.
Yeah, he does. I broke it down for him. I go, look, dude, your square off was cool. Your fucking lefts are fucking soft.
But he had I love his old school way of playing goaltender, too.
Yeah, man.
The big kick saves.
Yeah.
I mean, his second effort save.
I have his rookie card still.
Unbelievable at times.
I know exactly what his rookie card looks like. It's him like holding the post in the Devils uni with a green helmet on.
Yeah.
I have that. Like
the old school
OPG,
Devils jersey.
The OPG with the tack on it, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He was good for a long time. And revered up in Canada for his performances too.
Oh yeah,
in the Olympics. This guy was lights out for Canada. All right, Sean Burke, man, and I hope he gets a job as a GM, man. He deserves it. He's done everything off the ice in hockey since his playing career. He's been close on a couple of occasions. I hope he gets that opportunity at some point over the course of his career as off the ice, working for different NHL teams. Now working for the Montreal Canadiens as a pro scout. So doing a great job there. All right, here's Sean Burke, episode number 62? 63.
Figure it out.
On the Cam and Strick Podcast. What are you doing now? Are you watching hockey like night and day, just watching games and laying back, or are you renovating your home like you said?
I'm doing a little of both. I'm watching a lot of hockey. Obviously, there's a lot of games every day, which is great. You can keep up with every team in the league, and and then on the side, I've been doing a few home projects, which has been a good experience, but definitely a learning experience.
What do you think about the hockey right now? For me, I thought I didn't know how the emotional aspect would be. And it surprised me. I mean, these guys are killing each other. They're fighting. They're hitting. They're back checking. The hockey's been great, right?
I agree. I think the NHL obviously deserves a lot of credit for the way they've produced this and they've thought of everything. But I don't think enough credit right now is going to the players for just the competitiveness and how these guys are getting up for games. And I was thinking about that last night. The NHL. When you watch it on TV, you got to give them full marks. They've really thought of how to bring this to the fans and make it look great. But boy, these players, they shows the character and just the class of our league that it doesn't matter if you're playing in front of nobody or you're playing in front of a full house. These guys show up to play every night.
What about the goalies? Are they at a disadvantage by not having a whole lot of work in terms of exhibition games and whatever? And then no fans in the building. How does that impact goaltending? Does it at all or no?
Well, I don't think it hasn't looked to me like they're at a disadvantage. I've only really seen one series, I think, that the goaltending. I think the Edmonton series. There's been a lot of goals, and of course those are both offensive teams. So I'm not even saying it's the goaltending in that series, but there's been goals in that series that I think in the middle of the season, both those guys are probably stopping, and right now they look a little rusty in that series. But the rest of the goaltend, I think, has been excellent. It's you look at the teams that were going into this playoff or play-in, whatever you want to call it, that were underdogs, and there's a number of goalies that are stealing the series for those teams right now.
Yeah.
So if you were still playing, and I have to talk to people about this. People come up to me and say, "How can these guys play in front of no fans?" And I'm like, you just adapt to it. Just like you go to Russia or anywhere, you just adapt. And you got a million people watching you one way or the other over the television anyway. So if you were still playing, does that affect you?
I think, we all know that it doesn't matter. Obviously, the fans are a huge part of our game, and players get up when they come out to a full building. And there's some buildings in the league when you go in as a visitor, you love to go into them because the crowd's going to be into it. I think it definitely gives you a boost over an 82-game schedule. But you also know that if you're in a regular practice and you're at the end of practice and somebody says, "All right, next goal wins," or you put a little something on the line, guys are so competitive, and so I don't think it really affects you at the end of the day because right now guys are you're trying to get into the playoffs and then you're trying to play for the Stanley Cup. So Maybe over the long course of a season, but I think right now with this, I guess you call it a 2-month finish here, it doesn't look like anybody's having too much trouble getting up.
So tell us about your life growing up. I mean, what was it like for Sean Burke, and how'd you get into becoming a goaltender? Did you always want to be a goalie?
Well, not really. I mean, I had an interesting upbringing. I grew up in downtown Toronto, and you know, if you're a kid that likes hockey, that's a great city to be a hockey fan in. There's no shortage of hockey, and then I played minor hockey. I didn't really start playing organized till I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I started playing goal because my dad really just took me over to the schoolyard and started shooting some pucks at me, and he would take me over and work on it a little bit, and that's how I really got introduced to the position. But you know, we didn't really come from you know, a family that had a lot of money, so I never really played high level of hockey until I got to be minor midget, you know, 14, 15 years of age. Up till then, I played house league and I played lower levels. And you know, in our house, you know, we had 4 kids, and there wasn't a lot of extra income around. I took the public transit to every game I ever played in. So, you know, we took either the bus or the subway or the streetcar, and that was a commitment that my family made. And so for me, I learned from a young age that, you know, there was some accountability there. If everybody was going to sacrifice a little bit so that I could play hockey, then I had, you know, I had a responsibility, and I learned that from a young age. So, you know, overall, it was a good upbringing. I think that for a young athlete, I learned a lot of good lessons early on in life.
All right, so what was it like playing minor hockey, though, in Toronto at that time? Like, was hockey still super expensive? I mean, you talked about taking the transit and whatever. I mean, it's changed. It's changed. So, is that what it was? That's how Cam got to the show, by the way. He took the same thing. Just to get
in the 1920s.
But, I mean, it wasn't like it is today in terms of how expensive it is, right? I mean, when did that start to change, in your opinion, and what was it like for you growing up?
Well, Toronto had a lot of access, I think, you know, to rinks and outdoor rinks in the wintertime. So, you know, that really is what I think the biggest expense becomes for players. If you're playing in non-traditional markets, you know, Arizona, my kids, my son grew up playing all his hockey in Arizona. You know, it's a premium to find ice time. And so ice time's expensive, equipment's expensive. You have to travel if you're going to play the highest level of hockey. You know, I'm thinking back now when Brendan, my son, was playing, you know, minor hockey, was probably costing, you know, $15,000 a year by the time you travel and the equipment. And, you know, that wasn't the case back when I grew up. It was, again, if you wanted to play the highest level of travel hockey, there was definitely going to be an expense, but you could find great hockey in a city like Toronto at the lower levels because there's just so many kids playing, and not everybody could afford to play the highest level. So, you know, I'm not sure that there's a lot of guys, as we know, from small towns in Saskatchewan and farm boys and those kind of things, and I think that's probably an advantage that a lot of those guys grew up where it wasn't quite as expensive as it is now.
Is that where you're at now, Arizona? I mean, are you? Is that where you settled down with your family?
Yeah, Arizona's home, but I'm actually in Michigan right now. I have a summer place. I just got this summer place in northern Michigan. My wife's from here, Traverse City. So we come here in the summer now. This is the second year we've done it. But I've been in Arizona for over 20 years now. And, you know, both my oldest kids were raised there and went to school there. And I have a young 5-year-old now and a couple stepkids as well. So we've had a real good lifestyle in Phoenix for a long time, and playing there, and then retiring there as a player and working in the organization there for 7 years as well. So I consider Phoenix home.
So do you have a boat in Traverse City, or
what?
ask
that question,
I mean,
Andy?
Cam wants to know if you have a boat. He asks everybody that.
I'm one of those guys who's smart enough to know you don't buy a boat, you just have friends that have boats. So that's what I do. I just find some friends that have the nice boats and hang out with them.
We've heard that answer a couple times from people because it does make sense. They are a pain in the ass. Well, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back to hockey real quick. And, of course, I played for the Devils as well. I know the organization extremely well. Know Lou Lamiorello very well. Came on the podcast. Very surprisingly, him coming on. But he did. But you were drafted by them. Was Lou part of that? Was that 87? Lou was part of that, so he was a part of that draft pick. How was that transition moving into that organization? At the time, they weren't the Devils that they are now. We all know that. So explain to me that situation and dealing with Lou Lamiorello.
Well, you know as well as I do. I mean, Lou's been a very successful general manager, hockey person for a long time, and to his credit, he's always done it his way. And I think that for a young player, when I was drafted by New Jersey, I was just excited to be drafted by anybody, opportunity to play in the NHL, and so you don't know any different. Lou ran that organization the same way he's running the Islanders right now. It was strict in some ways. But as a young player, especially a guy that was playing on a team with a bunch of other young guys, and we had Kirk Muller, Brendan Shanahan, Pat Verbeek, John McClain, I could go on and on. We were all young guys, and that really gave us, I think, a great introduction to structure and discipline and how to be a professional. So when I look back, maybe didn't feel that way always at the time, but I have a lot of respect for Lou, and I sure learned a lot playing for him.
Why do you think you transitioned it appeared so easily to the NHL game coming out of the with the Canadian national team? I mean, you just kind of caught fire there. Why did it look was it as easy as it looked, I guess is the question.
Well, it's never easy, as easy as it looks, but I was lucky because when I was drafted, the team didn't rush me in. I was a fairly high pick. I was a second-round pick, and the team hadn't made the playoffs, the franchise yet, and so it could have been easy to, try to get all the young players in there as quickly as possible. But they looked at the big picture and sent me to the national team. And so when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I was playing against the best players in the world that weren't in the NHL. In those days, you didn't have the Russians playing in the NHL yet, so we were playing against Fedosov and Larionov and all those guys before they came to the NHL. And as a young player, what a great development. I could have gone back to junior, and I played 2 years of junior, but in my third year, instead of playing again, I went and played in the national program. And so stepping into the NHL, I had already seen such a high level of hockey that it wasn't easy, but I wasn't a guy making the jump from junior or the American League. I was coming out of playing against some of the best players in the world.
The Cam and Strick Podcast is brought to you by CarShield. Nothing more frustrating, Cam, than when that engine light comes on and right off the bat, you're going to have to spend thousands of dollars to repair your vehicle. Call 800-857-2481. Mention the promo code CAM or visit carshield.com and use the code CAM to save 10%. Yeah. That's carshield.com. A deductible may apply. Save yourself money. Sign up and get your coverage now with carshield.com. Now back to the interview.
God, was that weird playing against the Russians, though? I mean, was it as a goalie, just watching them set everything up and control the puck? But then they come over and someone played with the Devils, and they just couldn't figure it out in the NHL. I mean, explain the difference between how those guys come over here. They dominate so much, but it took them a little while to really transition to the NHL.
Well, I don't even think it was an on-ice issue, really. I think that if you'd ever been in Russia in those days in the 80s, and I was fortunate enough to be over there numerous times, the country was still communist. It was a totally different lifestyle. Those players had been used to playing in world championships, Olympics, winning all those events on the big ice surface. They had played together for years. And all of a sudden, here you are, you're in North America, you're on different teams. It just had to be a huge adjustment. I mean, I can't even imagine coming over after those guys like Fedosov came over and he was 30 years of age and trying to adjust. And he did. I mean, he ended up being a great player for Detroit and, winning Stanley Cups and playing some really good years. But just that adjustment alone from just the lifestyle. And I saw it firsthand. It was nothing like we were used to. We used to think the Russians were robots, and they weren't even human until you got playing with them and realized they were great guys. And everything about them was kind of different than we expected. They were really great teammates. But in those days, the world was different, and it was an adjustment. But I think it would have been the same way as if any of us North Americans would have tried to go over and play in Russia in those days.
Who was the best Russian you faced, though? Like, I mean, all these guys that came over, they ended up being NHL stars. Like, who stands out where you're like, wow, man, I just knew right away this guy was going to be an NHL superstar?
Well, the interesting thing in those days was, they played as a 5-man unit. So when you played the big team, the Red Army, the Green Line they used to call them. Fedosov, Kasatonov on defense, and you had Larionov, Krutov, and Makarov up front. Nobody stood out. They were just so good as a 5-man unit that you never really even thought of them as individuals. You just knew when that line stepped on the ice and all 5 of them came over the boards, you better strap in. You better put your seatbelt on because you were in for a ride. And of course, as the years went on, I got to play not only against McGillney and Bure and the next generation, but I played with all those guys as well. And you just realized that the skill level and the way that they developed as hockey players was different than we developed. We thought more of the physical side of the game and a lot of the other things, where the Russians in those days were all about skill and they had amazing puck skills. They were always great skaters. They were so strong on their skates. But I can't say that there's one that ever stood out because there were so many good Russian players.
You played for so many head coaches. I mean, it's amazing when you think about how many head coaches you played for over the course of your career, and you played for a bunch of different teams. But Jim Schoenfeld, he's a guy who, just seemed like he could just explode at any moment. And then you also had John Tortorella, you had Mike Keenan. I mean, all these guys. I mean, you got some memories there. We may have to extend the show another hour here, Sean.
Well, I think I made a few of them explode the odd time as well, which was probably not a good thing on my part. But I look back, I was lucky to play with so many teams in a sense that you get to play with a number of different players. You get to play for different coaches. You work for different general managers, and then when you get out of the game and you're trying to make it on this side of the table. Those experiences all come back to you, and you realize how lucky you were. But at the time, especially as a goaltender, those were some tough guys to play for. Jim Schoenfeld was great for me as my first coach. He just let me go. I mean, he just put me in the net and said, here you go. Let's see what you have. And I always seemed to play better for coaches that just trusted that when they threw me out there, I was going to go out and play. And if I had a bad night, they felt I was going to bounce back with a good game. But then there were times where I played, like you said, for Keenan, and I played for Tortorella, and I didn't really ever build up that trust with those guys. And, Cam will tell you, we all know that as a player, it doesn't matter how good you are or what your skill is. If you're not confident out there, it's a tough game to play. And a lot of times, your confidence comes from, obviously your coach shows a confidence in you, and then you go out there and you deliver, and it's a two-way street. But if you don't find that groove, if you don't get in that situation where you feel that trust, it's a real tough game to play. And I'm not blaming any of those coaches because I didn't play very well for John Tortorella in Tampa, and I didn't play very well for Mike Keenan in Vancouver, and I probably would have years later having known what I know now and learning, I would have probably played better for those guys. But at the time, I just never got in a groove, and I never felt like I could go out there and be my best.
Yeah, the confidence thing is huge. All I need is somebody just to acknowledge, you got the puck off the wall, Cam. There you go. Just tap me on the ass. That's all it is. I'm a simple man. Just tap me on the ass. And there's my confidence back. But were you in the game? Because we're friends with Don Koharski. We know Jamie. Jamie's refed me my whole life, including in St. Louis. We know them extremely well. Were you part of that game?
Yeah, he was part of
it. When Jim went nuts?
Oh, yeah.
What were you guys doing in the locker room? Were you like, oh, my God?
Well, that's a funny thing. I had already got into the locker room, and I was sitting, and I just heard the ruckus. I could hear it going on in the hallway, and by the time I stepped out there to see what was going on, it was all over. But that was a very interesting playoffs in a lot of ways. I mean, that was a young team we had that caught fire, and all of a sudden we were knocking off better teams. And you had the Jim Schoenfeld incident. You had the next game where you had the referees were the off-ice officials, and yeah, it was a wild ride. And looking back again as a first-year player, I don't even know if I took a breath to really realize what was going on. You're just sort of in your own little world, and you're just stepping out there and playing. But there was a lot of interesting things, and obviously the Don Koharski, Jim Schoenfeld thing is still something to this day that everybody remembers.
Oh my!
They all laugh about it.
How could you not? I mean, you see the referees for the next game. I mean, they look like they're like
yellow jerseys
in like
on.
house league, like men's league players who they just turned into referees. But the whole story about Lou Lamiorello like contacting a judge and getting a court order against the NHL that had previously suspended Jim Schoenfeld, right? And then they reversed the suspension, and that's why the officials wouldn't go on. Like, what were you guys thinking as players at that time?
Well, I remember the funny thing was my goalie partner was Bob Sove, and if you've ever met Bob, he's a real character. He just had that real dry sense of humor, and I can remember we knew who the off-ice officials were. We knew them to see them around, and then they had to come walking through our dressing room to go onto the ice. So they had these yellow practice jerseys on, and when they came walking through our locker room, I remember Bob Sove, right away, he looked up and he said to the one guy, now remember which end of the whistle to blow into. And that just kind of broke the ice because these guys were so nervous. Uh-huh. And to the credit of the both teams, that was Boston we were playing. I mean, Boston-Jersey was always a pretty good battle. There was nothing that broke out that night. It was a physical game, but guys stayed away from the crap after the whistles. They didn't want to put these poor referees in a tough spot, and it actually was a very, very good hockey game that went off without a hitch. But that might last one game. That was never gonna last two games. That's for sure.
No, the guys would have. Somebody would have fucked
up. But that's so Lou Lamorello.
Totally.
I know a judge.
He does know some judges.
I'm gonna call a judge. He's gonna call an even higher judge, and we're going to drive to their house and have the hearing inside the judge's house. Like, on Mother's Day, by the way. Only Lou Lamorello could do that, Sean Burke.
Yeah, well, you know as well as I do that I never really wanted to question too much about what Lou was doing. He had his connections, and he had his way of doing things. But one thing for sure, he was always going to battle for his team, and whatever he needed to do to get an edge, he was going to try and do it.
All right, Berkey, but what happened that led to you sitting out a complete season? We had Michael Pekka on the podcast a few weeks ago. I mean, he did the same thing with the contract situation, but he didn't have anywhere to play. At least you had the Canadian national team. How bad was it that you had to basically walk away from the National Hockey League for a year?
Well, the interesting thing was it wasn't that bad. I mean, I basically took my puck and went home. I sort of, looking back on it, I just happened to be in a situation where I stopped having fun. And, the year before I didn't play very well. I think I was a young player that was a bit immature still, that I just felt I was, entitled to, I had a great run when I came up, and I was entitled to continue to just get my chances. And looking back, I can see now that I just wasn't playing well enough. And so I didn't get to play it as much. And I got frustrated. I got frustrated with myself. I got frustrated with the organization. And I just didn't enjoy playing. And I knew with the Olympics, I had such a great experience, and I enjoyed playing for Dave King, that it just happened to be there was another Olympics, and I could go back and get another opportunity. So Lou Lamorello, speaking of Lou, he offered me a very fair contract. I didn't accept it, but it had nothing to do with the money or anything like that. I just was at a point in my career where I needed a change. And thank goodness I had that option, because when I did come back after playing in the Olympics, I enjoyed the game again. And I looked at it totally different, and I matured to the point where I don't think I was ever going to, put myself in that situation again. But luckily it was an Olympic year.
Hey, let's talk about the new Bud Light Seltzer.
Oh, yeah.
It's an easy drinking hard seltzer that comes in 4 delicious fruit flavors. Black cherry, strawberry, lemon lime, and Cam's favorite, mango.
Oh,
With only 100 calories, 5% alcohol, and less than a gram of sugar, you might as well have a few tonight or this weekend. Go to BudLight.com to buy Bud Light Seltzer online. Must be 21 years of age or older. Bud Light Seltzer. Unquestionably good.
Yeah.
Now, back to the interview.
So you're frustrated you're not playing. Were you just like, okay, another game, you're not playing another game? Were the guys eventually like, dude, what are we doing here? And then you leave. Are they calling you? Like, are they pissed at you?
Well, No, nobody was pissed at me because they had a guy like Marty Brodeur coming in.
I never heard of him. Never heard of him.
They never thought of me again. I don't think my phone ever rang again. I laugh till this day. I had a chance to work with Marty in the Olympics, in the last couple of years, and spent a lot of time with Marty. And I joked with him. I said, Jesus, because he came up, Marty, when I was there. He came up in the playoffs and was our third goalie. And I got to know Marty when he was a young guy. And then I left the organization thinking, boy, these guys are going to miss me. I'll show them, and they never missed me again. He went on to be the winningest goalie in the history of the game and win Stanley Cups. And I sat there wondering what just happened. But it all happens. I like to think for a reason. Yeah. And Marty had a great career, and I fortunately went on to play a lot of years too.
You did. Yeah, you didn't play for a lot of good teams, though. That was part of the problem. You had to carry the load for a lot of teams out there. But hey, I'm curious though. When you go play for the Canadian national team, do they pay you for that? Because it's a commitment beyond just the tournament, right?
Well, that's another thing. I turned down a contract. I think in those days, Lou had offered me a 3-year deal at about, I want to say it was about $500 a year, and which in 1992 was really good money, especially for a guy that was coming off an average year. And I went back and played for $10,000 with the national team. Just, it was basically a per diem is what you got. So I guess I wasn't the smartest businessman either, because I turned down, a pretty good contract to go and play. But as I said earlier, just the enjoyment of going back and having a chance. We played in the gold medal game against the Russians. I enjoyed the game again. I remembered why I played, what it was that I loved about the game, and the competing and not worrying about all the things that were out of your control. And if I didn't go back and do that, I'm not sure I would have continued to play in the NHL as long as I did. I needed to kind of get that break.
Listen, you're the toughest former Devil on this conversation, by the way, right? I mean,
sit down, Andy. Sit down.
I know that's not.
No, we're gonna get to his fights in a second.
Come on, no, because every time I turn around, there's another scrap. How many fighting majors did you get in over the course of your career? Did you like fighting? Because you must have, because you got into a good fair amount of scraps.
I never liked fighting at all. In fact, I grew up in a fairly tough neighborhood. So as a kid. And I mean, everybody says that. We all like to tell stories about how tough we were as kids and that. But I wasn't that I was tough. I just grew up in a neighborhood where, the odd time you had to stick up for yourself. And so, but I never enjoyed the fighting in hockey. I thought it was kind of one of those deals where if you needed to step in, if there was a reason on the ice that you had to even things out for your teammates, or then that was your job. It was part of playing the game, even as a goaltender. If you needed to help out somebody, or if something broke out. But I didn't enjoy it, and what I didn't enjoy about it, Cam, you did a lot more fighting than I did, but I didn't really want to hit anybody that hard either. I would get mad, and I would obviously get to the point where, hey, I was trying to punch the other guy harder than he was trying to punch me, but I didn't enjoy it. And looking back, I probably had more fights than most goaltenders, but I never went looking for it, and I never thought that I was going to fight somebody else who wasn't either had started it or was at least a big enough guy that that I didn't feel like I was being a bully out there. But as things break out sometimes, and it's just in the heat of the battle.
Well, I broke it down for you, and I'm going to read my notes. The square off was great. I like your endurance. I'm going to give you some kudos on that. It was a lot longer fight I ever had. You need to work on your punching power, and your switching wasn't there. I liked your left hand getting implemented. No, those were fun. And that's the Wild West. And I agree with you, too. The stage fights, I remember doing it in juniors more than anything, where you go buckets off, you square around. It's like, okay. But the emotional fights now, especially in these preliminary rounds and things like that, I like that. You could see it in their face. Yep. It's not just like, oh, you're the big boy, I'm the big boy, let's go. There's more emotion to it. I think that needs to stay for a long time in the NHL.
Oh, I agree with that. And our game is such a good game because there is a respect, as you know. There's nobody that's out there, I don't think anyway, trying to really hurt somebody. I just think it's such a physical, emotional game that you're going to get those situations where guys get caught up in it, and it becomes part of that game. But I've really always I don't know how the tough guys do it. I could never imagine going into a hockey game, knowing that you have to fight the other tough guy, and what that must feel like, and just the nervousness and the adrenaline. But you see it now. There's a lot of players out there who are not only really, really good hockey players, they're tough too, and things are going to happen on the ice.
All right, so the fight against the Maple Leafs, though, with Mark LaForest. I had to look him up, by the way.
I know.
Didn't remember Mark LaForest very well over the course of his career, but you guys did a lot of talking during your scrap as well. Like, what were you guys talking about, Berkey? Do you remember?
Oh, I remember that very well because, you don't see it. If you ever try to find those fights on YouTube or whatever, he came down the ice once already. He came down, there was something had broke out on the ice, and I was sort of involved, but not really. I was just kind of mulling around, and he came all the way down the ice. And I told him to go back. I said, go back to your net. Like, I don't come down here and go back to your net. And he went all the way back to his net. And then the mulling around kept going on, and then he came back down again. And that's when I said to him, okay, now you're embarrassing me. And I said, this is going to cost me a lot of money because I just bought like 20 tickets for this game tonight. I'm from Toronto. I got all my family in the crowd. And now I'm going to get kicked out of this game for fighting you. So I was mad. Now I was mad because I was going to be sitting in the stands for the second half of that game. But, it was Toronto, and Mark LaForest, to his credit, he was trying to put a little show on for his hometown crowd. But that game cost me about $400 and a seat in the press box for the second half.
Yeah, but your family remembered every moment of it, and it cost you out the. Imagine 20 tickets now. I remember going to Toronto where my billet family would always meet me, and it's always $7,000 out of the pocket because they're going to come, and they're sitting way the hell up there.
Well, let me ask you a question, Cam. How many years was it? And I know you played. I mean, you played. I want to say you were probably a guy that played almost 300-400 games in the league. How many years was it before you actually told people, or did you ever, that you had to buy tickets on the road? I probably went a good 15 years of my career before I ever had the heart to tell anybody that, I got to pay for those tickets.
I told him right away. I told him right away. No, but I spent so much money on tickets, it's outrageous. And plus, you play in your hometown. You can only ask Mike Caruso for so many things, and then you scrounge around. That was the biggest pain in the ass ever, and Patty Maroon had to go through that as well. Like, playing your hometown was the worst of the worst because they come out of the woodworks, Berkey, everywhere.
Oh, I know. I couldn't. I was so happy when I finally ended up out west. I was in Hartford, New Jersey, and we would play Toronto a few times a year. And then when I got traded out west, we'd only come to Toronto once a year. So I was happy at that point because that was the only time I really had to get tickets anymore. And it saved me a lot of money. As you know, in Toronto, it's not cheap to buy tickets.
So you played for 9 different teams. It's not as much as Mike Sillinger. Let's be honest here. We brought him up the other day, saw him at a fantasy camp, and my gosh almighty. For one, traveling and setting up in new places all the time with a family and things like that, was that stressful? I mean, moving is never an easy thing. And on top of that, the different organizations. Some are completely different when it comes to travel and things like that. Did anything bug you that you're used to with one organization that another organization didn't do?
Well, the one thing was I did play 5 years or close to 5 years in 3 different places. So I was in New Jersey for 4 seasons. I was in Hartford for 5. I was in Phoenix for 5, and Hartford moved to Carolina, so that was kind of an interesting situation. So I played on, I guess you said 9 teams, but really I really only bounced around a couple points in my career, and nothing really bugged me. I didn't enjoy my time in Vancouver, only because I went there and I didn't play well in my game, and I thought, what a great opportunity to play in Canada. They go to a Canadian market, play for the Vancouver Canucks, and it was really disappointing. I never got going. We had Mike Keenan there, was there, as you mentioned, and we just didn't hit it off the way I had hoped we would, and so that was probably, of all the points in my career, that was probably the low point, was going to a Canadian city. As a Canadian kid, I played in the Olympics, and what a chance that was for me to play in a great market. And I laid an egg. I just didn't play well, and it never sat well with me.
But playing for Keenan, I want to get back to him. I mean, when you're struggling with confidence as a goaltender, I mean, it's got to be doubly as hard having him as your head coach, because he's not going to help you find your game or find your confidence, is he?
Well, he's not. And again, I think that at that point in my career, but also at the point in his career, he had already won a Stanley Cup with the Rangers. He had found what he, I guess, felt was his formula and the way he was going to do things. And so, it just didn't jive with me. And again, I'll take my share of the blame in that one. I never showed up to Vancouver in the right frame of mind to be the type of player that I think I could be. But on the other hand, it just wasn't going to work that way. I didn't respond well to coaches who played head games. I didn't respond well, to coaches who thought they could motivate you through fear. I just didn't need that. I grew up. My dad was tougher than Mike Keenan or John Tortorella or any of these guys, and he was just brutally honest. And so from the time I was 8, 9 years old, if I didn't play well, my dad would just say, "Hey, you know what? That's not good enough. You didn't play well." So I never needed anybody to tell me when I didn't play well. I knew, and so it didn't work. But it wasn't the way I responded. And I think looking back, there was a lot I could have done to make the situation better too.
Cam and Strick Podcast here for our boy Dan Bellman with Bellman.com.
Yeah, baby.
You need some new wheels? Why not get a Cadillac, a Buick, a GMC? Head out to Troy today. And again, don't forget about Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram right across the street.
No doubt.
Right there in Troy, Missouri. Visit them online. Check out their new selection, the pre-owned selection, the best service you will find anywhere in the country. Bellman.com. BEHLMANN.com. Get yourself some new wheels in time for the summer.
Yeah.
Now back to the interview.
Well, you're not the only one that their game didn't find its level, and that was Mark Messier. We just had Gino Ojic on talking about his time there. It wasn't the best, and the guy won 5 Stanley Cups. It was 5 or 6 at the time. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter. But explain his time there. Can you see the frustration with a guy like that being in the locker room and seeing him every single day?
Well, that was the best team that I had ever played on, which is crazy to say because we couldn't win a hockey game. I mean, if I go back and look at the talent that we had in Vancouver at the time, we had Bure, and we had McGillney, and we had Messier, and Naslund, and Linden, and on and on and on. And yet we couldn't win a game. And there was just so many things going on, kind of away from just the ice. And it's hard to describe when you're in a situation that you show up to the rink every day and you're just not enjoying it, and you can tell nobody else is, and there's just a frustration. And to Mark's credit, I mean, obviously he had won in New York, he had won with Mike Keenan, and so there was a different relationship there. There was a coach and a captain who had already had success together. So the rest of the team, I think, felt that at times there was a fraction there, and that's only natural when you got a guy who's been as successful as he was, and you've got the same coach that he had played for, and then the rest of us are just trying to go out there every day and stay in the good books and not get in the doghouse, and that dynamic just didn't work. But again, I think every one of us, looking back to how talented that team was, if we'd have just shown up every day and found a way to enjoy the game, we would have won a hell of a lot more hockey games. We just couldn't find a way to do that.
I've seen you say, though, that your experience in Vancouver helped you with other challenges you would face later on in life. Like, what do you mean by that? What did you take from your experience, even though it wasn't ideal from a hockey standpoint?
Well, I think I learned about myself in terms of, how fragile your career can be. Up till then, I had a fairly decent career. I had played, in Jersey for quite a while. I had played in Hartford and been, not very successful team wise, but I had found my own individual game and I had started to develop as a player. And I got to Vancouver and all of a sudden, I started to feel like I could be out of the league. And so I learned that for me, I just wasn't good in situations where I didn't focus on my own job and come to the rink every day and enjoy the game. And when I started worrying about things out of my control, it got really bad. And so, I think I took that experience, and it took me a little while. It took me an adjustment. I had some things personally off the ice, that weren't great. I was going through a tough marriage. I had young kids, and all of a sudden I was overwhelmed a little bit at times. And so I learned that, for me to be the best athlete I could be, I needed to get in a mentally much better place than I was. And so I didn't let that ever happen to me again. I made sure that I didn't find myself in that sort of a situation where I was just overwhelmed by everything.
You just started beating the shit out of all the other goaltenders around the league.
Yeah.
I mean,
what you do.
Dominic Hasek.
That's what you do.
Roussel. I mean, there's more fight videos than Cam on the internet right now. Come on, Berkey. But then you get involved in management. What do you think you took most from your career to apply it on the hockey side? And what are your aspirations still? Do you still hope to manage a hockey team if you ever did? Is that what you want to do?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I've had so many good opportunities since I've played and done, I think, just about everything job-wise. I've been in development. I've been in coaching. I've been lucky enough to manage, the Olympic team and some world championship teams and things like that. And I think what I took from the game and lucky to work with so many people. I mean, I can name probably a half a dozen to 10 general managers in the National Hockey League right now that I've had a chance to work with through the national team. And so you learn a little bit from everybody. You take a little bit from guys. But to me, it comes down to respect. I mean, there's just, you want to manage and be the kind of guy, I think, that puts people in the situation where they can succeed. And I think a lot of that just comes down to respecting your players, to creating an environment where guys want to show up to the rink every day and go through the wall for the team and the coaching. And that's sort of been not only what I've learned, but in my experiences, when I do the best job that I can do, a lot of times it just comes down to making sure that there's that respect there, that you don't get negative with people. You don't start, looking for the fault in players. You try to find things that guys can build on and you can help them with. And I think that environment where you're creating that or helping create that always gives people a better chance to succeed.
Well, Andy was -5 last night, and I was on his ass in the locker room, so I'm sorry I'm not
That's
positive.
That's a true story. I was actually
gracious.
terrible. I was actually terrible. But
well, sometimes you need a kick in the ass, too.
That's right.
That's all part of it, too.
Hey, but your name's always mentioned on the short lists around the league, and jobs are open. They always mention Sean Burke. Like, have you had a lot of interviews? Have teams expressed interest? Like, have you ever felt you were close to maybe getting a manager job? I know you've been an assistant, GM, but a GM job.
Yeah. I was close in Edmonton last summer. And I know that because I was told we were down to a couple guys. But Ken Holland came back into the picture, and obviously with his experience and his success, we're two different guys. I mean, if you're looking for a guy with experience, you're going to go to Ken Holland. If you're looking for somebody who's maybe younger, hasn't done it that way yet, then that's where I fit in. But I don't lose sleep over it. I think that at the end of the day, I've interviewed in Edmonton, I've interviewed in Seattle, and that was a great experience. But you don't want to be that guy either that's on everybody's short list but never gets the job. So that's the other side of it is, I think you show up to work every day and you try and improve. As you know, as a player, you never feel like you can stop improving, but that's no different on the other side of things. You can learn something every day, and with players, they're younger and there's different ways of doing things. I think if you do that, then you got to kind of leave it in the hands of whoever else is making those decisions and see how it goes.
Well, you built quite a resume. I mean, even in Phoenix, you were director of prospect development. You're an assistant GM, then a goalie coach too. I don't know how the hell you juggled that by any means. But we brought your name up on Twitter, and we told everybody you're coming out tomorrow, and a bunch of people chimed in, including Chris Dingman. And he sent something kind of cryptic, and we're trying to figure it out. And if you don't, he's like, tell him, before when he said you're an unbelievable guy, and he goes, Tampa, Torts, and everyone needs a hug. If you don't know what the hell that means, I'll tell him to go fuck himself.
Well, I'm sure it's just the poor Dinger there. He saw me. I was in the doghouse with Torts, and that was a tough situation. If you think about, Tampa had won the Stanley Cup, and then there was a lockout, and so I went in the next year. So you're going into a team that has just won the Stanley Cup, then had a whole year off. And I think myself and maybe Robbie DeMeyer were the only two guys that joined that team. Everybody else had been there. So, it was tough. But again, I think that, looking at Torch and you watch his teams, the guy has success. I mean, it's a demanding guy to play for. His game, his style is not easy, especially as a goaltender. But I felt I handled that situation a heck of a lot better than I handled the one in Vancouver. At the end of the day, though, it wasn't easy. I can tell you that.
Did you see Torch the other night yell at Dubois? Oh my!
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it? 3 times he went back over to him, and I know they were having a shitty game. But did you ever experience anything like that, or did you see him do that to anybody on the bench, where they turned back around and said, "What the fuck?"
Was he like that? Even
all the time,
early in his career with Tampa Bay. Like, was he the same guy that we see now, who's just always just going crazy?
He's got better now. Are you kidding? Was he the same guy? He's better now than he was there, I'm sure. But
yeah.
Again, he's a fiery person, and I didn't enjoy the experience. I didn't. I'll be the first to say that. And yeah, I got yelled at plenty. I got yelled at as a 17, 18-year vet. I thought I was 10 years old sometime the way I was getting yelled at. But you have to be able to take that, and you have to realize it's the style sometimes of the guy you're playing for. Unfortunately, I didn't respond well to that. It didn't push the buttons in me that it pushes in some other guys. It just made me not enjoy playing. And so again, if you're not enjoying playing, it's hard to go out there and be your best. But again, I should have recognized too at times that, okay, this is something I need to be better at, and I need to find a way to motivate myself differently. But it's hard when you're in the middle of it. You can learn that later, and you look back and you know all the answers. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't know that.
Where was your favorite place you played?
Well, I really enjoyed a lot of places. I got to play in Philly twice, and even though the fans booed me out of town both times, I enjoyed playing there.
Hey, that's a sign of respect right there.
Yeah, I mean, I really, Philadelphia was my team as a kid. I loved the Broad Street Bullies. Bobby Clark was my idol. I got to play for Bobby Clark, and I got to play for the Flyers, and neither time it went that great as far as, we got knocked out in the first round one time, and then the next time we lost to Tampa in 7 games, and they went on to win the Cup. But for me personally, it was just such a thrill to play for the Philadelphia Flyers. It's such a intense building, and the crowd and everybody. But I like Arizona. I enjoyed playing and we talked about New Jersey. I enjoyed Hartford for the years I was there. There wasn't many places that I didn't enjoy playing.
So they booed you? They booed you off
twice?
Yeah.
Well, they would boo me after. I can remember this like it was yesterday. And Cam, Philadelphia, when you pull into that building, you come down that ramp and the bus pulls. Well, for the home team, you kind of park just out back there. So when you come out after a game, the fans can actually stand up above and see you go to your car
and throw shit at you.
And and I can remember one night we beat Chicago. I think it was 3-1. And I was always the last guy out of the room. My family, they hated because they had to wait so long for me to come out after games. But when I was at home, I would, like a lot of guys, work out after the game and take my time. And this one night, I was by far the last guy out of the building. And I thought, there's nobody around. Well, there was one guy waited, whatever amount of time that was. He waited for me to come out of the building. And he started giving it to me. You're no good. You suck. You're brutal. And I didn't even want to look. I didn't want to turn around and look at the guy. I just walked to my car. But finally, I couldn't help myself. I turned around. I said, buddy, we just won the game 3-1. What are you so mad at? And he goes, that was a horrible goal you gave up. And I just couldn't get over it. I was like, geez, you can't win here. So I got in my car and I went home and I thought, this isn't going to work. These guys don't like me here.
It was a horrible goal, Burke. I just looked it up.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go say you went and beat the shit out of them again.
No.
Come on now, Burke. That's what we see on the
internet. You don't go toe-to-toe with anybody in Philadelphia.
Oh, he's got 20 guys behind you. Well, we know those same guys in St. Louis. They stick around. They'll get you. They'll get you.
Hey, do you know anything about anything? Somebody has told me to ask you that too.
Scott Mellenby. Well, man. Mel and I go back a long time. We played World Junior together. We both grew up in Toronto. We played in Florida together. I have a lot of respect for Scott. He's, as you guys know, he's the ultimate sort of team guy at the rink, and but a great family guy, great person. And yeah, we would spend a lot of time sitting at the back of that bus, reminiscing, talking about things. And I realized one night that looking around that there wasn't much I could do other than play hockey. So I've now tried to take on a few other projects, but in those days I couldn't put a hammer to a nail or anything.
No, you saw
at least you could play hockey.
You saw Chris Pronger as an 18-year-old too, didn't you?
Yeah, we drafted him in Hartford, and Prong's, a guy that from right from the get-go, you knew he was going to be a special player. It took him a little time. He was obviously, a little bit, gangly in those days. Hadn't found, his growing into his body yet. But one of the great things that happened for Chris Pronger was that he got to play with Brad McCrimmon real early in his career. And God rest his soul, Brad. I miss him. I think about him often. We were teammates in Hartford, and I really enjoyed him. And everybody knows the story of the plane crash in Russia. But for a guy like Chris Pronger, and I can't speak for him, but I'm sure that he would have to say that Brad McCrimmon, as a veteran defenseman, showed him a lot of those little things that sure helped him as his career moved along.
Andy Strickland and Cam Jansen here for you for GadgetBuyback.com. Yeah. Gadget Lab, they got a store here locally if you're in St. Louis, 5541 Telegraph Road. Here's the deal. You got an old phone, maybe a cracked tablet. Maybe it's perfect, but it's a little bit older. Turn it in right now. www.gadgetbuyback.com. Upgrade your devices, phones, computers, watches.
Anything.
Doesn't have to be Apple either. No. Get those tablets turned in. Again, www.gadgetbuyback.com, 877-772-8880. Now back to the interview.
Yeah. We got one more for you here, buddy. And I told you, we talked about this at the beginning of the pod. I saw you on YouTube. You're jamming out. You're showing off a little bit. I got a little jealous because you play the guitar, and I'd love to be able to do that. A lot of people are playing the guitar right now in the bubble, I'll tell you that. What's your favorite kind of music? Are you a metal guy? Are you a rock and roll, old school 70s kind of guy, which I think that you are? Andy doesn't know anything about that kind of music. So what kind of music do you like?
Well, I don't want to sound like the person that says I like everything, but I really do like a lot of music. I mean, my first concert was Iron Maiden. Oh, yeah. And yet I've gone and seen Michael Jackson. I've gone and seen, country artists. I'll listen to, a little bit of classical. I just think that music for me has always been sort of that happy place I can go, that I don't have to be great at playing the guitar. I don't have to be somebody that's, expecting to, get to a level that is, incredible, but I can enjoy it just because it's such a personal thing for me. I can pick up a guitar, I can sit down by myself for a couple hours if I have the time, and I can just enjoy playing. So my lessons were all just really intended for that person who's at home who says, you know what, this is so complicated and I don't know where to start, because I've been there. It's like, as a guy will show you something, you're like, man, I don't know what you just did there. I can't figure out that at all. But people who are really good at things sometimes think that everybody should just all of a sudden pick it up and be good at it themselves. And that's not the case with the guitar. But having said that, if you just work at it a little bit, I don't have much of a musical ear. I never did, or come from a musical family, but I've just worked at it to the point now where I enjoy it. And I think it's a great way to, it's good for your memory, it's good for your mind, but it's also just a great way to pass some time.
Hey, last question from me, Berkey, but, because whenever Montreal wins, we give you credit for Carey Price's performance. And now that you're working for the Habs, but people told me to ask you about your relationship with Devan Dubnyk and what you did to turn his career around. What's the backstory there?
Well, that was really simple. I mean, Doobie was a guy coming off a really tough time. He had been bounced around. I think he ended up in Nashville. He went home, and then he went to or maybe it was Montreal he went home from. But he had a really tough year, and his career was at a point that was similar to the point I was at a couple times in my career. And so we went out and made a deal for Dubnyk, and right away I knew that when we got this guy, he could be a really good player. He just needed to get back to, some basic stuff, enjoying the game again, not putting a lot of pressure on himself. And he's a terrific person. I mean, if anybody knows Doobie, he's just one of those guys. You only have to meet him once and you're going to cheer for him. He's that kind of a guy. And And so we clicked because I'd been in his shoes. And I said to him from day one, I said, if you're just willing to have an open mind here, and, I've got some things I think we can work on, but more than anything, you got to take the pressure off yourself and start enjoying the game again. And we clicked, and, to his credit, again, I did very little, but I like to think I helped him a little bit, but to his credit, he took the ball and he ran with it and has, turned his career around and been a great goalie in this league for a number of years.
Well, Berkey, man, appreciate you coming on. And listen, you keep playing that guitar. We're going to start a band together. I'm going to be the lead singer. We're going to get a drummer, and Andy could be like the backup, like vocals or something that carries our equipment in.
Yeah, we need a roadie. We got to have a roadie. Yeah. So
he could sing backup.
We need a bass
vocals.
player. We need a bass player too. Bass players, you could just find a bass and start learning the.
Cam.
No, he's going to do the cowbell. He's going to do the cowbell.
Cam plays the tambourine with both hands.
All right, Berkey, go do your thing, man. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Berkey.
Guys, great. Thanks for having me on, and anytime, happy to come back on.
You got it, big boy. Take care.
Okay, take care, guys.
That was episode number 63. Sean Burke. Great story. Played a long time. Played with a lot of great players, too.
Yeah, he did.
I'm always interested to hear players, their version of playing for Mike Keenan. Like, everyone has a different experience with this guy.
Or at Torts, too,
Torts, too. He didn't like either one.
He didn't like either one. There was some shit that went down. Torts, either you like him or you don't, I think, man. With all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Gino Ojic liked Keenan. A lot of guys like, who else? Turgi liked Keenan.
Belfour
liked him.
Ronick.
But then you got guys that fucking hated him. I mean, hated the
Kovalev.
as a person.
I don't think Kovalev liked him too much.
No, I think he didn't like him. But it varies, and it depends on your demeanor in the locker room. It depends on a lot of different things. And maybe Burke even said he's sulking at times, man. And when you sulk as a backup goalie or as a goalie, either way, it sticks out and it's not good. And then a guy like Torts is going to fucking murder you.
And he came in for Kirk McLean, who's a pretty popular player there.
Really
in Vancouver,
popular,
too.
I have his rookie card as well.
Do you? What do you collect, baseball cards or hockey cards?
No, that's hockey. That's hockey.
Kirk
McLean's a hockey player.
You still collect hockey cards?
Jesus. No, I did, and I think my cousin stole them back in the day. But I just remember Kirk McLean. He had sick pads too, all blacked out. I love those unis.
Oh yeah,
fucking
yeah.
badass.
No, he was good too. But Berkey played a long time, like I said, represented his country, played in the Olympics on a couple of occasions, played in the World Junior Championships, representing Canada too, and was a big deal when he first came into the league and hung around for a long time. I think he ranks. He's up there in games played.
Yeah, I mean 18 seasons.
And he's up there in penalty minutes among goaltenders
and
too.
Fighting
he had
majors.
over 300.
I think Hextall might beat him in that sense, but not too many guys. I had no idea.
Oh no, there's a bunch of guys. I think he's like 7th or 8th.
I had no idea that he fought that much.
Belfour's up there too.
I had no idea. Yeah, but are these fights? Like this dude's squaring off buckets
he's
off.
Fighting.
This guy's going buckets off at center ice, and that's a fight, not a scrum in front of the net.
You're right.
This cat's fucking doing it. We
all
did.
We might have to break down some of his fights.
I know shit.
I mean, he had some unbelievable scraps.
I know. So
including with that guy in Toronto who you'd never heard of.
And I know I didn't.
Mark LaForest.
And he's so mild. Like he's just such a chill,
such a gentleman,
mild-mannered, just chill, stoic.
Yes, he was the best talking person on the podcast. Like he should be a broadcaster. Actually,
yeah, I think you're right. He's doing bigger things than that. I believe.
Yes.
Nothing against broadcasting. You make a ton of money. I think he wants a GM. Trust me, I'm in that kind of category.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he wants that GM job.
Yeah. Well, he was the GM for Team Canada back in the 2018
Assistant
Olympics.
GM for Arizona.
Oh yeah.
So
no,
he knows his
and
jam.
he's working for Montreal now.
Yeah.
And he understands the goaltending position too. So
do what I say to do, and just spend all your money on a boat and kick your feet up with your wife and jam out to Pink Floyd.
He said,
why don't you just do that?
He said, that's the way you do it. You don't buy a boat. You let your friends buy boats.
Yeah, but I want to be in control, brah. I want to be in control. I want to invite everybody.
What does a boat cost?
If you want to get a good one, $100,000, $70,000.
Okay, so anybody out there who owns a boat business, man, let's do it.
My God.
Let's do a deal right now.
Oh, my God.
Let's get a boat company.
I'll dress like a clown and go to your bar mitzvah and put a fucking show on. Dead serious on that.
Okay. I know you are. We're dead serious about CarShield being ranked number 1 in the region for large businesses.
I mean, how nice is that? Walking in, you're comfortable and shit. No one's harassing you.
We're number 1, and we know it. You know why? Because we treat our
people
employees the right way.
Everybody says
how
that.
hard is it?
You talk to all these guys that that either with the team here, how many different things they sponsor and the charity events that they go through, and all people that we're connected to as well, Andy. Everybody I talk to is like, they are the real deal. They are the nicest people.
Yes.
The people that work there, like, it's so comfortable
Yes.
as a woman, as a young kid coming in there, like, now that I've been playing hockey my whole life. Now you're in the game a little bit, and you see how people are treated different ways. And
they treat everyone equally, man. Everyone's comfortable. So be a part of their team. Check out CarShieldCareers.com, 800-857-2481 to also sign up and get your coverage because you need it. Mention the promo code CAM. You'll save 10%. Again, 800-857-2481. You talk about great companies. That's why we have partnered with GadgetBuyback.com. There's a reason why. Because they're good people too, man.
Oh, my God.
I mean, these are salt of the earth, down to earth. You want to work with people who you can trust, man. Like, you go buy stuff from them that they're going to do what they say they're going to do.
I met David Long, who is he's the
owner.
He's the owner, CEO, owner, whatever
President,
the case is. Yeah,
owner.
president. He's everything. Okay?
Yes.
He's everything. I met him playing hockey, and he comes up to me, and I did a speech for his company, and I saw the way he interacted with all his people.
What kind of speech are you giving?
Oh, my God. It was so embarrassing. I'm showing fight clips of myself, like, hey, this time. And they're like, what? But that's not the point. The point is David goes in there, and just the way he talks to them, and people love him. Everybody that works there has tons of people that work for him. Just how he engages everybody, takes care of them. For me, man, that goes a long way, and that's why he's always going to be successful, just because of that.
Yeah,
they do the right thing,
I love
dude.
that. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and by the way, one thing, don't be a fucking Hoosier if your fucking phone's fucking cracked. Don't be a Hoosier if your phone's cracked. Get that damn thing fixed, or I can't take it seriously.
877-772-8880. 877-772-8880. GadgetBuyback.com. Check that out. Of course, our friends over at hockeytraining.com. Now, here's the difference. Some of you play men's league, and a lot of you actually play minor hockey, play youth hockey, and you're like, I got a trainer. I go to the gym. Are you training to be a hockey player, or are you training to be a bodybuilder?
So you could
Does
flex?
your trainer know how to train you to enhance your performance on the ice?
Want athletic look. They want the athletic looking guys, not the fucking big shoulder, big head. And all of a sudden you look at your legs and they're fucking scrawny, and you're like, what? You couldn't even squat me. As a girl, you couldn't even pick me up and squat me. No. You want to look good? You always will look good in the beach. If you take your shirt off at the beach, you're going to look good with this training, but you're also going to be quicker. You're going to get on those pucks.
More explosive.
Yes. In the corners, protecting the puck in the corners. Now I'm like, damn, this cat protects the puck. Now when you walk in, I'm not going to be like, fuck this motherfucker. I'm going to be like, damn, here, you want a beer? Would you like a Gatorade? Would you like a protein shake? I'll fix you one of those because you got the puck off the wall, because you're training.
With hockeytraining.com.
There it is.
So be sure to check that out.
Protein shakes coming your way.
And see what Dan and Kevin have in store over there at hockeytraining.com. They do a great job. Let's talk about the new Bud Light Seltzer, man.
Mango.
Bud Light Seltzer brings us our videos you find also on our Twitter and Instagram, so be sure to check those out. It's easy drinking, comes in 4 delicious fruit drinking flavors.
I ain't bloated.
Black cherry, strawberry, lemon lime, or Cam's favorite, mango.
Mango.
He loves the mango.
It's the best.
Yes, only 100 calories, 5% alcohol, and less than a gram of sugar. You might as well have a few tonight.
No
you don't have
shit.
to wait till the weekend.
No, you don't. Although I do have to get up early. I don't feel like shit in the morning. I'll crush these bad boys, and I feel decent in the morning.
You know why? Less than a gram of sugar.
That's why.
See,
that's why.
Yes, that's why.
See, that's why.
That's why. Less than a gram of sugar.
Mango.
BudLight.com. Check that out. Have it delivered to your door. Bellman.com. Are you kidding me? BEHLMANN.com. 2 N's. They've got the Cadillac, Buick, GMC. I'm still looking at that Escalade, dude.
No, you're not. You're looking at that pink Jeep. Who are you kidding?
Well, you want the pink Jeep with small wheels. 2-door.
That's right.
Yes. Soft top.
Oh, yeah. Cruise around everywhere. Like, look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
You probably
no one's going to say shit.
Have a bra on the front of it,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So
I have to protect
so you
it.
don't get pulled over?
Yes. Exactly. Lord.
You were a little nervous driving fast on the way here today, by the way.
Yeah, no, I don't like to get pulled over. I mean, it's what it is. Who does?
Nobody.
Nobody. No. You don't mess around with that.
No. Bellman.com. Check out their pre-owned inventory. They have great pre-owned deals right now. Honestly, stop on in. They'll take care of you. They always have plenty of new inventory as well, but their pre-owned sales right now are absolutely through the roof. Best customer service you're going to find anywhere in the region. Bellman.com. Of course, Cope24.com.
Hey, girl, what's up?
What's
Hey,
up,
girl, what's up?
Renee?
Hey, girl, what's
Big
up?
event coming up later in the year. We'll have more details as we get closer. Some great auction items and some great things that our girl Renee has in store with Cope24.com. All right, this has been episode number 63. Check out everything we have coming out on our Instagram, also our Twitter, at Cam and Strick Pod. We've got more stuff coming your way here on the Cam and Strick Podcast.